Hello, my name is Aaron Clegg, and I'm going to be presenting today on industrial control threats and vulnerabilities. So, first off, we'll get started. For the agenda today, we will be addressing industrial control threats and vulnerabilities, how to remediate potential problems, and then we'll do a wrap up. And if any of you guys have questions, we'll address those as well. So, what is an industrial control system? Well, an industrial control system is a term that encompasses and details various types of control systems and related instrumentation, which include devices, system networks, and controls used to operate and automate industrial processes. Now, the industrial control system has fundamental elements within it, like programmable logic controllers, remote terminal units, human machine interfaces, and supervisory control and data acquisition. So now that we know what an industrial control system is, what are the threats to an ICS? First threat that we will address is outdated systems. Now, this is an issue because many ICSs were created during a time in which cybersecurity was not a top priority. So, trying to integrate modern securities into older systems can be extremely difficult. Now, this is mainly due to the fact that the current software that is used by these ICSs are often outdated. And as stated previously, they lack the security features that would be available more frequently in today's society. Another vulnerability is that some ICS systems lack updates and patches. Now, this is due to the fact that a majority of these ICSs can't actually afford to eat the downtime that these updates and patches take, as some of these ICSs are essential services and can't afford any disruption. And as a result of this, a lot of organizations choose not to apply updates and patches, which as a result can leave these critical infrastructures exposed to potential attacks. Now, the last threat I will address in this presentation is default settings and credentials. Now, attackers can search for default or hard coded usernames and passwords or manufactured devices. Now, once these credentials are discovered, they can then use these credentials and gain further access to a company and a company's industrial control system network to further collect and expose a company's assets that they might have. So, how do we remediate these issues? So, for the first issue, I recommend that a risk assessment is done on the equipment that is currently in use. If determined that the risk on an outdated system is too high, it may be time to look into potentially replacing the system or upgrading the system to better help with using these with the modern software and equipment. And as a result, you know, it may end up having to assess and allocate funds to look into potential upgrade or equipment swap. Now, to address the second threat, I would recommend that an update process is properly defined. This means that on top of performing a risk assessment, that an additional update process should be developed, which would include things like communicating to additional vendors and stakeholders about potential downtime and patching processes, patching testing, having a staged rollout, backup plans in case anything goes wrong, monitoring, and documentation. Especially This is especially important with essential systems, as we want them to be as secure as possible. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that the systems are all updated and appropriate patches have been installed. Now, the last remediation strategy that I would recommend would be to implement multi-factor authentication. So having at least two-step authentication with logging into systems, and to ensure that a secure password policy is in place so that all employees and are aware of what requirements there are for setting a password. And this password policy would ensure that all employees obey the secure password policy. So when constructing that password policy, making sure that you set the restrictions to having the password to 8 to 16 characters, ensuring that your password at least has a capital letter, a number, as well as a special character. And then in that password policy, you would want to make sure that your passwords are being force updated, usually every 90 to 180 days, depending on the work that your organization might do. But that concludes my presentation. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will address them to the best of my ability. These are my references, so all of the information that I used in this presentation is gathered from these two sources. I look forward to watching everybody else's presentations, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great day.